Welcome back. If you have followed this series, you have met Air France 447 before. The Airbus A330 lost over the South Atlantic on the 1st of June 2009. After ice crystals blocked the pitot probes, the autopilot disconnected, and the crew, startled and confused in alternate law, stalled the aircraft from 38,000 feet. In this presentation, we are not retelling the accident. We are using it as a testbed for a different question entirely. When you face a complex systemic accident, which analytical framework do you reach for? And what does each one show you and hide from you? One accident, four lenses. This is a case study in the craft of investigation itself. Here is the problem in its general form. The investigator's toolkit contains multiple mature frameworks. We will use four: HFACS, the Human Factors Analysis and Classification System; STAMP, Systems, Theoretic Accident Model and Processes; AcciMap, and MAHCO. Each was built on a different theory of how accidents happen, and so each interrogates the same evidence differently. Each illuminates a dimension the others treat as background, and each has a characteristic blind spot built into its structure. The temptation, especially early in one's career, is to adopt a favorite and defend it. The argument of this chapter is that the investigator's real skill lies elsewhere, in choosing the method that fits the event, and in combining methods when the event demands it. AF 447, probably the most extensively analyzed accident in modern aviation, is the ideal specimen for the comparison because we can watch all four frameworks work on identical evidence. So, which framework tells the truth? Run the thought experiment on the slide. Give four competent analysts the same accident, one framework each, and you will receive four different accounts. One about layered human failures, one about broken control loops, one about causal paths through the sociotechnical system, one about the minute-by-minute condition of the humans in the seat. It is tempting to ask which account is correct. The accurate answer, and the intellectually harder one, is that they are complementary. Each is true about the dimension it was built to see. The distortion enters only when one account is mistaken for the whole. Keep that in mind as we walk through each lens in turn. Lens 1, HFACS. Built on Reason's model, HFACS classifies human contributions across four fixed tiers: unsafe acts, preconditions, supervision, and organizational influences. Applied to AF 447, it maps cleanly. At the sharp end, skill-based and decision errors. The pilot flying's sustained nose-up inputs. The failure to apply the unreliable airspeed procedure. Among the preconditions, adverse mental states, startle, confusion, and the cognitive narrowing of the crew in a degraded law aircraft at night in weather. Above that, supervisory and organizational factors, training philosophy that had allowed manual high-altitude handling skills to atrophy, and a fleet-wide assumption that the automation envelope would hold. HFACS's strength is exactly this. It is strong on people, organized by tier, and it produces a communicable, auditable taxonomy. Its limitation is equally structural. The four levels are fixed, and what does not fit the taxonomy, dynamic system interactions, feedback, design, tends to fall outside the analysis. Lens 2, STAMP, and notice how the same evidence transforms. STAMP treats safety not as the absence of failures, but as a control problem. The system stays safe while constraints are enforced, and accidents happen when control structures fail to enforce them. Through this lens, AF 447 is not primarily a story of pilot error. The safety constraint, keep the aircraft inside its flight envelope, was inadequately operationalized. Training did not enforce it for high-altitude manual flight. Recurrency did not test it. The feedback loop from earlier pitot incidents to design and regulation was too slow. And look at the reframing on the slide, because it is the heart of the comparison. What HFACS classifies as a mental limitation of the crew, Stamp describes as inadequate feedback between system and crew. The aircraft state was not communicated in a form the humans could use under stress. Same evidence, different theory, different remedy. HFACS points to training the person. Stamp points to redesigning the control loop. Lens 3, in fact, a pair of lenses that work at opposite altitudes. AcciMap traces causal paths vertically across the whole sociotechnical system, from the crew, up through the operator, the manufacturer, the certification authorities, to the regulatory and even governmental level. Applied to AF447, it connects the pitot probe certification history, the pace of the airworthiness response to known icing incidents, and airline training economics into a single influence diagram. It shows you the system-wide geometry of the accident. MAHCO does the opposite. It descends into the moment, reconstructing a step-by-step timeline of the human condition in the cockpit, attention allocation, ergonomics of the side stick and its lack of cross-cockpit feedback, knowledge gaps, fatigue, and the just culture context around reporting. One framework gives you the map, the other gives you the minute. Neither can produce what the other does. Now, the deeper mechanism, the actual thesis of this chapter. The four frameworks are not rivals. They are instruments, each calibrated to a different face of the same event. HFACS gives you the human failure taxonomy. Stamp gives you the control and feedback structure. AcciMap gives you the system-wide causal geography. MAHCO gives you the lived, moment-by-moment human reality. Two disciplines follow. First, choose for the event. A contained single organization occurrence may need nothing more than HFACS. A deeply systemic accident like AF447 demands the systemic lenses. Habit and preference are not selection criteria. Second, combine for the whole. Merging the outputs into one integrated systemic account produces the fullest and least distorted picture. And, crucially, recommendations that address every level at which the accident was produced. 3 lessons that outlive the case. First, match the method to the event. Framework selection is an analytical decision made on the characteristics of the occurrence, its complexity, its coupling, how far the causation extends beyond the sharp end, not on the investigator's comfort zone. Second, no framework is complete alone. Every method has a structural blind spot. An analysis built on one method is guaranteed to miss what that method was never built to see. Triangulate. Third, end with the substitution test. Ask whether another competent professional, in the same circumstances with the same information, would plausibly have acted the same way. For AF447, the answer is uncomfortable and instructive. And it is what forces the recommendations away from the individuals and toward the system: training, design, feedback, and regulation. That is what the 4 lenses, combined, ultimately deliver. To close, Air France 447 serves as the comparative case study in Chapter 13 of the book on occurrence investigation and safety analysis, where HFACS, Stamp, AcciMap, and MAHCO are applied to the same accident side by side, with full worked tables for each. If tonight's session has a single takeaway, it is this: the mark of a mature investigator is not loyalty to a framework, but fluency across them. The complete treatment is in aviation human factors: theory, research, and applications for advanced aviation systems, Ziakas and Pechlavanis, CRC Press, 2026. Thank you. Questions welcome.